Between federal funding freezes,
tremendous waste and fraud and abuse,
and ICE raids,
what have you been charged with?
Things are getting colder than a witch's cooter with the feds. We have full team coverage from our chief future correspondent.
What am I supposed to do now?
Our chief superhuman correspondent.
Zing.
And our chief feline correspondent. Plus, the world's first cyber farting case goes to court. More on that story to come.
Oh, looks like I'm getting a text. Oh, Andrea, how could you?
Welcome to the Fenix News Report. Trump's second week in office was chill AF, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, chill like a sledgehammer coming down right next to your head.
Trump decided to pause federal funding for, everything, while he made sure that the government wasn't wasting any money on transgender avocado toast or some shit like that.
Now, there were a couple of problems with this. Mainly that it was illegal. I mean, hey, way to stay on brand, Mr. President.
Let's go now to our chief feline correspondent, Whiskers, who was in the field. Whiskers, when people found out that this freeze affected things like Meals on Wheels and Pell Grants and Medicaid, what was the reaction? That's very interesting. And would you say that the backlash was both swift and inevitable? Fascinating. Thank you, Whiskers. We will check back in with you later.
Now, the other problem here was that the Trump team couldn't get their story straight. At first, they defended the decision as a way to cut government spending.
Would you support getting rid of school lunch for vulnerable kids and breakfast and Head Start, for example?
When you talk about school lunches, hey, I worked my way through high school. I don't know about you, but I worked since I was, before I was even 13 years old. I was picking berries in the field before we had child labor laws that precluded that. I was a paper boy. And when I was in high school, I worked my entire way through. You're telling me that kids who stay at home, instead of going to work at Burger King and McDonald's during the summer, should stay at home and get their free lunch instead of going to work?
Hell yeah! Why can't these gosh darn kindergartners pull themselves up by their little croc straps and start taking some personal responsibility over whether or not they get fed? They're always wanting the parents to fix their problems. Freeloaders.
Then, after the Medicaid website went down, the Trump team tried to act like it was a technical glitch instead of a thing that they very much specifically did on purpose.
It wasn't clear to me whether you were saying that no Medicaid would be cut off. Obviously, a lot of this goes to states before it goes to individuals and so forth. So are you guaranteeing here that no individual now on Medicaid would see a cutoff because of the pause?
I'll check back on that and get back to you.
But pretty soon, a judge stepped in and said, you can't do any of that. So the Trump administration said, you know what? JK, we would never really do that. Oh my God, you guys, can't you take a joke? And they rescinded the memo.
Now, the irony of all this let's cut government spending talk is that Trump has a wish list with a $10 trillion price tag. Hey, but don't worry, absolutely none of that is coming to you.
Now, this temporary funding freeze is one of many executive orders that Trump's been jizzing out like an overstimulated teenager, but none of them seem to be moving the needle on those stubborn egg prices.
And they have tried everything, forcing the FDA and CDC to stop all communications, including about bird flu. They've tried opening more federal land to oil drilling, threatening chickens with tariffs, and also disparaging poultry farmers' DEI policies of only letting female chickens do the egg laying. But fear not, American egg lover, because the Trump team this time have cracked it. They have decided to continue to blame the Biden administration. So enjoy your omelets.
So what will be the effect of all of these executive orders in the long term? Here to comment is our chief future correspondent, Jen Haston. Jen, I know you're about 4 years into the future, so let me ask you this. Has the price of eggs finally gone down?
Oh, we stopped eating eggs a long time ago. We switched to whale sperm.
I'm sorry, what now?
Whale sperm. It was Secretary Kennedy's idea, and boy, is it delicious. Yeah. It's tasty. Yum.
Yeah, Jen, it looks like you're super into that. Now, of course, Trump is on this crusade to cut government waste, and he's been offering big severance packages to anyone in the federal government who voluntarily quits their jobs. I'm curious, in the future, is there even anyone left working for the federal government anymore?
I actually work for the federal government.
Oh, okay. Well, what do you do?
I'm an executioner.
And how do you like that?
Gives me something to do with the rage. Well, I gotta go. Someone tried to vote for free school lunches again. Fucking idiots.
Thanks, Jen. And hey, go ahead and stay there and don't come back here, okay?
Now, of course, the other big move from the Trump administration has been a large-scale deportation scheme that's been allowed to take place even inside of churches and schools. Now, this may be the first time that law enforcement has ever been willing to enter elementary schools.
Trump's dreaded ICE raids have begun across the nation, and in true Trump fashion, it's insane in a way that you would never guess. Dr. Phil, yes, you heard that correctly, Dr. Phil, has been embedded into ICE raids in Chicago and allowed to interrogate people.
What have you been charged with?
Charged with?
Before?
I'm not a sinner. I'm charged by lawyer.
Presumably after this, they head to their hearing on Judge Judy.
Trump has also deported Biden-era arrestees, some of whom have been welcomed at their destination airport with cookies, presumably glazed with, "Trust me, you didn't want to stay there." In fact, if the U.S. didn't start all the conflicts that forced them to leave their countries in the first place, I'd say we're doing them a favor.
Now, over the weekend, there was a bit of a kerfuffle with Colombia, which we will discuss in our segment Point Counterpointless.
I will be arguing the side of our great and powerful leader, Trump, because Andrea said I have to because there is no way in hell any word of encouragement for that malignant grease stain would ever leave her mouth. And she will take on the viewpoint of Colombia.
That's right, you fascist whore. Why don't you start us off with the administration's gaslighting BS, and then I'll bring us all back to reality.
Well, here are the facts. We sent a plane load of criminal Colombians back to Colombia, and they were such murderous ne'er-do-wells that even their home country didn't want them. So Trump said he'd do a tariff on them, and they buckled like a belt. Victory Trump, USA! USA!
Go ahead and think about baseball while I explain what actually happened. Trump caved. Trump gave Colombia everything they demanded, and he did it in record time. Colombia refused to allow military planes with shackled deportees to land because that treatment violated the agreement that we had. Then Trump threatened tariffs and whatnot. So President Gustavo Petro called Trump a white slaver on social media and announced tariffs of his own. Like, nice tariffs, hope you like $40 coffee, bitches. Then Trump caved and agreed to go back to the way things were. Flawless victory, Petro.
Wow. And you kiss Satan with that mouth. Colombia caved, not us. Caroline Leavitt said so in a presser. That makes it law. I'm doing tariffs on you.
I think that pretty much sums it up. This has been Point Counterpointless.
Now, given that getting these detainees back to their own countries can sometimes be difficult, Trump is relying on an old classic. Sending them to Guantanamo Bay. That's freaking brilliant. Every time we send people to Guantanamo Bay, everything works out perfectly. That's why the name has such a positive connotation. Chief Feline Correspondent Whiskers. You agree with me, right?
So just curious, if I said I bought you a one-way ticket to Guantanamo Bay for vacation, would you go?
White H Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt, can I get an assist here?
I'll check back on that and get back to you.
Now, Austin, you might be surprised to learn that all of these ICE raids have inspired a new TV show.
Oh, really? Well, that's actually some good news, I guess.
Yeah, check it out.
From the creators of FBI, FBI Most Wanted, and FBI International, comes the newest spin-off, a fever dream that Dick Wolf had while falling asleep in front of Fox News called FBI CIA ICE NICU TLC. This dedicated immigration team finds the sickest newborns at the hospital and ships them off to other countries. And T-Boz stars as Agent Kendra Johnson.
This is the baby in question.
Does he look brown?
It's hard to tell. The poor thing looks really sick. He could use some TLC.
It could be a trick. Let's get him. Action. Drama. Suspense. T-Boz from TLC for some reason. This fall, you can't spell justice without just ICE. FBI, CIA, ICE, NICU, TLC. Coming soon to whichever television network your grandpa watches the most.
In a truly tragic event, a commercial plane and a military helicopter collided near Reagan Airport in Washington and crashed into the Potomac River. This is terrible, and early reports do not expect to find any survivors. Thank goodness, however, that the recovery mission will go smoothly with all the federal funding that flows unfettered from the government in times of need. No way would anyone be stupid enough to freeze funds for things like air traffic control, right?
Now Donald Trump likes to move quickly, and he's already found the source of the problem. It wasn't a drunk pilot or an air traffic control failure or a mechanical issue or anything like that. No, the problem once again is woke.
The initiative is part of the FAA's diversity and inclusion hiring plan, which says diversity is integral to achieving FAA's mission of ensuring safe and efficient travel. I don't think so.
Are you saying this crash was somehow caused and the result of diversity hiring? And what evidence have you seen to support these claims?
It just could have been.
Listen, to everyone out there in the transportation industry, please, for the safety of all passengers and operators, women and children, please fire anyone who does not look like me.
But unfortunately, that wasn't the only tragedy this week. Let's go live now to our chief superhuman correspondent, Mike Dynamo. Mike, what the hell is going on out there?
Hello, guys. A spectator at a track meet in Colorado was killed by what's called an errant hammer throw. Unfortunately, most Americans don't know what the hammer throw is, as it's never televised during the track and field at the Olympics, and they've never dated one. Zing. The weight is a big old ball attached to a chain that's attached to a handle that competitors spin around as quickly as they can to toss as far as they can. Now that we all know what the weight throw is, if you ever see one coming, get your ass out the way. Thoughts and prayers to the person that died and their loving family.
Florida Representative Anna Paulina Luna, a Trump sycophant, has drafted a bill that would put Trump on Mount Rushmore. Now,
no, she didn't. Everyone knows that I am Trump's biggest fan.
What did I do in a past life to deserve this? Hey, Margie.
Hi, Austin. I'm here with some even bigger ideas than Miss Anna Paulina. There's only one representative that can be Trump's biggest sicko fan.
You mean sycophant with a T at the end?
No, I mean sicko like, ew, what is sicko? And fan like, I'm President Trump's biggest fan.
Whatever. So, all right, what are these big ideas, Margie?
Okay, Mount Rushmore, that's small potatoes, y'all. I'm going big. President Trump's face on the $1 bill.
I mean, fine. People hardly use cash anymore. It's all credit cards now.
And on all the credit cards, okay? And also we're going to rename everything that's not America to Trumpistan because we stan him. Get it?
Please go. I am so tired.
You know what? You're just like everyone else. No one ever wants to listen to my ideas, Austin.
Well, that is because you are abrasive and weird and kind of dumb.
Only kind of dumb?
Yeah, sure.
Well, that's the nicest thing anybody said to me all week. Austin, you want to go shoot some guns later? I got one that's taller than you. It'll dislocate your shoulder.
No thanks. I just got mine popped back in.
All right, then. Well, I gotta go. I'm gonna see you again real soon. Boop. I'm gonna boop it. Let me boop it. Give me a boop. Boop. Bye.
Please don't come back.
Speaking of incompetent buffoons, there were a number of high-profile confirmation hearings this week. So let's start with the next Secretary of Health and Human Services, RFK Jr.
Okay, I have to ask, is RFK about to throw up or what? Because I am a sympathetic puker, and this guy is a problem for me.
Well, given the time that he spent a day with a dead bear carcass or the time that he rained rotting whale juice onto his family, I think the man's got a pretty strong stomach. Fun fact, his cousin said this week that he used to put baby chickens and mice into a blender to feed his birds.
That is not helping.
Whiskers, any comment from the animal kingdom? Now, I think he did a great job in this hearing, just telling everyone what they want to hear, no matter what he has said, done, or written a book about in the past. But I do think that maybe he should focus his medical expertise on lowering his blood pressure because dude is about to explode.
Did you say Lyme disease is a highly likely militarily engineered bioweapon?
I probably did say that.
Did you say that?
And that's what the developer of
I
Lyme
want all of
disease
our
said.
Look at him. He's trying so hard to remember what a Medicare is right now and failing miserably. Now, on the question of abortion, RFK wants to protect doctors who don't morally agree with abortion procedures. And he wonders why a patient would want a doctor who's opposed to the procedure to perform it on them. Well, we interviewed a number of people in the waiting room at my local ER, and they largely responded by screaming in our faces that they didn't give a shit if the Pope was doing the procedure. They're about to fucking bleed out on the goddamn floor, so go get a fucking doctor right now!
Then there was Tulsi Gabbard, who at times had trouble answering questions about her past troubling statements and asked to phone a friend.
Kash Patel also appeared and said he wouldn't just blindly follow whatever Trump's orders were. And of course not! The blindfold would be over the eyes of Trump's enemies. You'll be able to see just fine when he follows Trump's orders.
Now this all follows Pete Hegseth's hearing earlier in the week when Senator Tom Tillis urged a witness to give a statement about domestic violence against Hegseth, only to go ahead and vote for him in the end. So, if Tom Tillis asks you for a favor, don't forget to have someone pull the knife out of your back afterwards.
In other senators being dicks news, former Senator Bob Goldbar Menendez has been sentenced to 11 years in prison for taking a whole lot of bribes from foreign governments. He was caught with gold and cash in 2023, tried, found guilty, and sentenced. So for the record, the courts do know how to charge and convict a corrupt politician and in under 2 years. But maybe only for the Democrat politicians?
In our girthiest hard news story of the week, Lauren Boebert doesn't believe that she's the biggest prick in the bathroom anymore. Welcome to Dick Jokes.
Lauren Boebert had a real cock-up this week in the Capitol ladies' room. There she was, innocently playing with her spitting bush beaver when something scared the piss out of her. She pulled out and ran to find a cop to falsely finger who she thought was the offending member of Congress, Representative Sarah McBride, a trans woman.
Now, hard on Boebert's heels was Nancy Mace of the Peen Patrol, who skipped to the loo, anxious to get her hands on this up-and-coming parliamentarian. But by the time they got back, the penis had tucked and run. Or maybe it was never there. Or maybe it got cold. Who knows? Boebert admitted that she was the girl who cried pants parrot and never really saw a cockatoo. Even still, Boebert is a woman on a mission and promises anyone a come-to-Jesus moment if she gets her hands on a penis in the ladies' room.
Boebert's bogus boner brought titters from other lawmakers feverishly packing their pork into each other's bills. She insists that she learned her lesson, but will she get her comeuppance? Is this death by 1,000 pricks? Or will Lauren finally learn to knock before she grabs at a knob in the bathroom?
This has been Dick Jokes.
And speaking of getting boned, so you know how all the billionaires have been spending all of their billions on AI?
Sure do.
Okay, and you know how President Trump pledged that those billionaires, along with the government, are going to spend like $500 billion on AI infrastructure during his term.
Yep. Melted a polar ice cap just thinking about it.
Well, now a Chinese company called DeepSeek has come along and said that they made an even better AI. And it only cost them like $5 million.
Wow, that sounds like a lot less than what we're spending.
Well, we might not have that money to spend anymore because the announcement wiped out about $1 trillion off the tech industry's value. And now OpenAI is mad because they think DeepSeek stole the data that they stole from everybody else without asking. And there's only one country that's allowed to do that. Thank you very much.
Fun fact, did you know that one of those stocks that just tanked got dumped last month by Nancy Pelosi for no reason at all?
I'm sure that's just a fun coincidence. And here's another fun coincidence. OpenAI just announced a version specifically for performing government tasks only a couple of days after Trump asked a bunch of people in the federal government for their resignations. And all that happened just a few days after investor Mark Andreessen said that AI crashing human wages is necessary to achieve utopia.
I mean, the coincidences don't get any more fun than that. Speaking of tech bros ruining humanity, Elon Musk has been nominated for a Nobel Prize. And no, it's not because he put a bunch of interns in charge of disemboweling the government. And it's also not for his remarks about how Germany should leave the past behind and quit worrying so much about the Nazi stuff, you guys.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to a future where people recount Nazi Germany like they do Woodstock. Hey, it was the 40s, you take a little acid, you puff a jazz cigarette, you kill 6 million people, you go dancing. I mean, it was just what you did back then. I mean, but seriously though, why the hell did he get nominated for a Nobel Prize?
Something, freedom of speech, I don't know. Here to comment once more is our chief feline correspondent, Whiskers. Whiskers, what are the Germans saying about this nomination?
Okay, and do you think he actually has a shot at winning? Couldn't agree more. Thanks, Whiskers. Now, we've given you a lot to be outraged about tonight. But there's one thing that Jesse Waters is outraged about that you probably never even considered.
The New York Post caught her grocery shopping with Dougie Fresh. What kind of husband goes grocery shopping with his wife?
Austin, I couldn't agree more. It is shameful, sinful even, for a man to go to the grocery store with his wife. He must go alone. And he must text her constant updates from the tortilla aisle. It's the only way.
And speaking of supportive relationships, the Kansas City Chiefs have made it to the Super Bowl yet again with absolutely no help from the NFL rubbing their hands together while thinking about that sweet, sweet Swiftie money.
Let's check back in with our chief superhuman correspondent, Mike Dynamo in Massachusetts, who is covering an amazing breakthrough. Mike, what's happening up there?
The researchers at Tufts University, a real college, have discovered some sort of silk-like substance that can be used to lift heavy things. Then the press comes in, and they called it a Spider-Man-style web shooter, and I find this very upsetting. Anyone who tries swinging from a building with these things would die. Spider-Man, one of the world's most popular superheroes, can only do what a spider can, like swing from buildings, because he has spider strength. So, Mr. Press and them, I'd prefer it if you leave all this behind and instead tell me who invented a serum for spider strength. Oh, no one? Yeah, that's what I thought.
And finally tonight, the world's first case of cyber farting has been prosecuted in the UK. Now that is when you fart into your phone and then you send the recording to your ex's new lady friend to be a dick. And then at some point you hold that same phone up to your face when you make a phone call.
This gives me so much hope for humanity.
What? Why?
Austin, this expands the limits of human ingenuity. We figured out how to digitally crop dust someone. What's next? A web-based wet willy? A virtual purple nurple? The sky's the limit.
Oh, hold on, got another text. Oh my God, did you send me another fart?
No, Austin. I pushed the frontiers of human progress with my butt. That's all for tonight, folks, but be sure to join us again next week for so much more.
Good news?
No, absolutely not. Check out the latest episode of our podcast, Washington to Westminster, and comment under this video if you'd like to join our community. Austin's got a scone recipe in there that is the bee's knees. Keep flying, y'all.
Love you. Bye.
Hey, honey, do we have blue food coloring?
If we do, it's on top of the fridge.
And, oh yeah, I think I'm also gonna need a hatchet. That's cool, right?
You're gonna need a what?
A hatchet.
You've been watching Why Women Kill again, haven't you?
Yes, I have.
Oh, this is not, scary or frightening at all.